Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another review post. The chicken house, it's coming along a little bit slower than I anticipated because I've got so many other things to do here, you know, especially since warmer weather hit. Of course, this is one of my priorities, but keeping the garden going, and I'm having to mill up some more 2x4s because I still have some bracing to put in here. I've had several comments on that. Well, I ran out of 2x4s, but I had slab wood, so I just continued on working with the slab wood because I can actually put that bracing in at any time. So the main structure, it's not done, but all that's going to be done from the inside. But this did help to tighten it up some to keep it from wobbling, so that when I get in there and I start putting that bracing on, you know, it's going to wobble without this. So like I said, going ahead and putting this on here so that I just felt like I didn't have to stop working. It has, like I said, tightened it up a whole lot. But this is actually the slab wood from all of the lumber that was milled for the siding for the cabin. And even though I was going to put it on the sawmill and plane off one side and leave one side live edge, but I thought, why go through all that extra work? I can leave it up underneath, and you know, nobody's going to know it anyway. So it saved me a lot of extra work by doing that. But yeah, I mean, it's really turning out nice, and I am going to burn this, and then I'll probably take a brush and put some of that timber oil on here just so that you know, it will last a little bit longer. Now I know that I had mentioned at one time, you know, water when it rains, when you do lap siding like this, the water will come off and go against the grain, and I think that it basically adheres to it a little bit longer as opposed to it being vertical and running down with the grain. But I think that this might be a little bit better off because, you know, I only extended the roof 12 inches, but by the time it comes down here, I've got about a 2-foot overhang, at least on this side and the other side. Now, most of the weather comes in this direction, but the front, it's going to get a bit of a porch type awning on the front, so that will help protect the front some, and then I'm not really worried about the back side. But yeah, if you were wondering what this was, this is the door for the chickens to go in and out. And if you're wondering what this was, this is a window that I'm going to have a piece of glass cut out and make my own grills for them. I couldn't find a window, an older window, that without having to travel a great distance, that would be small enough to go in here. So I just decided to go ahead and make my own. I can just mill up some really thin strips and put in here and kind of paint them and maybe distress it a little bit. But yeah, this is a window right here, and I've got some other ideas. I don't want to give those away yet, but it's going to kind of look crazy when it's done. But I'm excited about the chicken house, and I've got some ideas for the manure, catching that and being able to get rid of it really easy. I know some people have commented on a trap door, but I've got a different idea. And as far as the roosts go, I have a different idea for those too, where the chickens won't develop a pecking order, hopefully. I tell you what, when I'm done, this is going to be the Chicken L Ranch. This is going to be the Cadillac of chicken houses. This is going to be the Coupe de Ville. This is where all the chicks are going to want to hang out. So I'm excited about getting this done. And I hope that you guys enjoy this little series, because things like this are a lot of fun. You know, the cabin is fun too, but the cabin can get monotonous because it's repetitiveness, because it's such a large project that you do a lot of the same stuff over and over and over. You know, I plan on, what I might do is I might move out here in a couple of months, because I can actually stay in there even though it's not finished, and I can work on the inside. But a lot of that's going to be repetitive work, you know, putting up the insulation, finishing the wiring, and, you know, putting the inside walls in there, and then the tongue and groove up on the ceiling and the floor down, you know, so a lot of that is going to be repetitiveness. And what my plans are is to try to mix that up in videos with things that projects that I'm working on the outside, so that it doesn't become as boring to you as it does to me some. Now, once I start on something, you know, it's always exciting, but just to do the same thing over and over, I like to switch up a little bit, and that's the reason that I film the way that I do. You know, like I said before, I've got a home. I've been in no hurry to move out here, but I thought, you know, it's far enough along where I could come out here, I could do some filming at night, I could have some campfires, and, you know, just basically have a lot of fun out here. So I may go ahead and do that. I may get a few more things done on the inside where I can move in, and because I don't have that much stuff, and I can actually, you know, move what I have, move it around when I need to work in that certain area, so it's not a big deal. But anyway, yeah, things are, they're looking up out here. The homestead is coming along. Still got a whole lot of work and actually years of filming to do with all the different projects that I've got, but hopefully you guys are enjoying some of these crazy buildings that I'm putting together out here. I've got you know, another project that's going to be coming up that I've got another idea for. I won't give that away yet. I like doing crazy stuff like this. And anyway, so I've got some comments that I want to answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to meet you down there at the garden, and we'll talk about those. Well guys, I tell you what, the garden's really looking good. It rained pretty much the whole day the other day, and it seems like that those plants are standing straight up. So it's really looking good. I got beans planted, the onions, they're up about, that you've seen, they're up about this high. The cabbage, the cauliflower, the broccoli, it's doing well. I'm still waiting on getting some cucumber plants. They didn't have any, and they've already pretty much sold out, with the exception of just slim pickings on a lot of the plants that I've already got in there, with not including the tomato plants. They had a horde of those, but the cabbage plants and things like that, pretty much they've already been picked through. So I do intend on planting some cucumbers and some carrots. I'm not a big I don't like squash, I don't like zucchini, I don't like okra, things like that, but I did plant a couple of different types of beans. I love those. The tomatoes, we're going to not only eat those, but we'll do some canning of the tomatoes so that I can make chili and things like that. The cabbage, I'm going to turn that into some kraut, and of course, you know, I make that rag cabbage, so I'll be able to do that several times. And of course the onions, you know, that will go in with the tomatoes to make salsa. Jennifer does really good making the salsa, and all the different kind of pepper plants that I've got up there too. I've got habaneros, jalapenos, and cayenne pepper up there, so she'll be making me some good salsa. Somebody had a comment to mulch the garden since I was doing it off-grid. I do have a good water supply here. I've got 200 gallons down there that I've just filled up at my neighbors that I can actually water this with, but they suggested using some mulch, and I had an idea for that. I'll have to go over on the other mountain over there and collect a lot of the ground duff, you know, and the leaves and things to put on the garden, because that will help with water retention. They'll probably cut down on a lot of the weeds that I have to do too. But on this hill right here, I've said this before, on this hill there's some ground cover that it crawls, and I don't know what it is. My sister says that they use it a lot in flower arrangements, but it only grows on this one hill right here, this mountain, up to about the hardwood line, when it starts getting at about a 45-degree angle. I don't know what you call it, but it's really pretty, and it would be hard for me to take a rake and kind of dig through. Of course, that other hill over there, it doesn't grow, so I'll be able to, like I said, get a bunch of that ground duff. I'll take some big heavy-duty trash bags, I'll go over there, I'll collect some of that, and I'll bring it up here. I was kind of waiting for the plants to get up a little bit taller so that I didn't cover them up, especially the pepper plants, because they're still only about yay high, but they're really looking good. So yeah, here probably in the next couple weeks I'll be getting some of that and I'll put it on there, and then that should help hold the water in there where everything will stay moist and I won't have to do so much weeding. Now this area behind me up here, I was going to plant some flowers, more flowers, but I got to thinking that that might make a good area to plant some melons. I really like watermelon. I'm not too keen on cantaloupe, although I do eat it. But this section right here, since it's not on a level spot where, you know, it might stay really damp, I'm thinking on the side of this hill right here, it might grow some good melons. So leave me some comments down in the section below what you think. We never did grow too many melons. I remember one time we did, and they got, you know, not really big, but they did pretty good. They tasted okay. So I'm thinking that, like I said, that area right there, I can try it and see what happens. Be an experiment, but I think that that might be a good place to plant some melons. So like I said, leave me some comments. If you've actually had good luck growing melons, let me know in the comments section, and the kids will probably read it. I try to read some of them, but I've got so much work and so many projects going on, it's hard for me to keep up with all the comments, but they'll be sure and let me know what your ideas are. So yep, that's what my new plan is for this area right here, is to grow some, try my hand at growing some melons. This is that ground cover that I was saying that only grows on this hill right here. I went up there and picked a piece of it. It's just all over this mountain, almost as thick as a lawn up in the woods. There's some of it underneath this rhododendron up here, but this stuff, you know, it's fairly tough. I don't know, like I said, what it is. It grows across the ground and takes root. If you know what this is, leave me some comments what they call this stuff right here. But it only grows on this mountain right here, not that one, not my neighbors, not my sisters across the road. But it's really pretty, and it's like this all year round. That's why I said it would be tough for me to dig down into the duff and the leaves and stuff, because I would have to go through this stuff right here, and I don't want to destroy any more of it than I have to, because it is nice up there in the woods. So yeah, this is what grows. That's what I was talking about right there, that I have no idea what you call it. So if you know what it is, leave me a comment. I thought I'd talk a little bit about one of my future builds. This area right here is actually where I go down into the hollow to the base camp and collect all the dirt and everything, and this is the far corner of the cabin. But in this bank right here, I'm thinking about cutting an area out there. Of course, there are several yellow pines that need to come down up there that I'll be able to mill up into some sort of lumber, because they're fairly close to the cabin. Even though they're leaning a different direction, when you get a lot of high winds, you know, they could very well snap off in the wrong direction, kind of like the wind today. And I do apologize for the audio, but they need to come down. But I'm not too worried about the other hardwood trees, you know, as long as they're not really close to the cabin. If I suspect one that may fall, I'll go ahead and hook to it and pull it in another direction and get rid of it, because my family in the past, they've had, you know, and everybody likes trees, but they've had them land on top of the cabin, poke holes through the roof, and you know, do a lot of destruction and damage. And that's one thing that I don't want to happen, because this is the third structure I've built, and I don't, in my lifetime, I don't think I plan on building another one. But these smaller builds and stuff like that, I really like doing those because they don't take as long. But I don't think that I want to build another house. But this area right here, I've got in mind for a root cellar. So it would be really handy for me to come out, especially the back door, come out and be able to go into the root cellar right there. And it doesn't have to be really big, because it's just me up here, but it's a place that I can store my canned goods and things like that. And if I make a nice area on the bottom, you know, my neighbor, he used to his potatoes and his onions, he used to keep them in a cool place, but he would lay them out on a board, and then he would cover them with hay about this thick, and they seem to keep all winter long. So you all leave me some comments if you've ever done anything like that and you think that they would keep in a root cellar. He actually kept his in a barn. I don't think it would stay too damp in there, but it would be a cool place. So you know, as long as the potatoes didn't start sprouting eyes, you know, and get too damp. But yeah, I'm thinking that that would be a good place for a root cellar. So that's one of the future projects that I've got coming up. You know, somebody left me a comment that, and they're right, on the chain, on the chainsaw. A lot of times you'll find two teeth that are faced in the same direction. The other day when I was over there at the church cutting wood, I had to stop and file. I tell you what, I cut 2 days solid, probably 4.5 hours each day, just non-stop cutting. Probably went through 2 gallons of gas in both of my chainsaws. Now that's a lot, because a chainsaw doesn't hold that much. But I went through 2 gallons cutting and still don't have it all done. I think this week I'll be able to kind of finish it up, and then I'm looking hopefully to be able to borrow somebody's wood splitter, because the limbs, you know, the huge limbs that were on those trees, if you go back to the other video and see, they actually made some big sections, and there's a whole lot of them. So I want to get those busted up before I put, and it'll make it easier, you know, putting it on the trailer to get those up here and to stack them. So I'm hoping that one of the guys there, he said that he had one, actually has a 21 horse motor on it. So that's a heck of a wood splitter. But I asked him if I could borrow it, and he said that he would check it out to make sure it was still running, because it's been a couple of years since he's used it. But yeah, hopefully if I can get that over there, get all that busted up within this week, then I won't have that project facing me anymore, because I think it's going to make enough wood that I'll have for all winter long. The other thing too is, when I was going to sharpen the Husqvarna, I went around and around and around that chain, and I couldn't find 2 teeth facing in the same direction. They were all opposite of each other. I don't know if that's just particular to that type of chain that I bought. I think it was an Oregon chain. Or if, you know, the larger the chain, if it's just made that way. But I went around and around and around several times, and I thought maybe I missed it, but I couldn't find 2 teeth facing the same direction. So I went ahead and marked it a different way, and went around, cut, and then filed it, and then turned it around and did the same thing. But on my still saw, on the smaller saw, it does have 2 facing in the same direction. So that's easy to find that starting point when you get back to it. There you go, turn it around, file it the other direction, and you're good to go. But I thought, you know, since I'd read that comment, I got to thinking about it. That is correct. So I looked for it on the Husqvarna, but I couldn't find it. So unless I just missed it several times when I went around, it doesn't have 2 teeth facing in the same direction. So I had to do it a different way. Somebody also said that they took a snapshot of when I held that leaf up there, and it came back as being a box elder, which is a type, or it's in the family of maples, but I still think that it's going to make some good hardwood. Of course, you know, a lot of it was green. We thought it was dead because several of the limbs that were growing out didn't have any leaves, and they were already, the bark was shedding on it. But when you got down into the heart of that tree, it was still green. So I'm hoping that, you know, by this fall, well, when I get close to winter time, that a lot of that will be dried out enough to burn. Now, when I was growing up, we used to mix some green with some that was well seasoned, so that the fire would last longer, because once you get it going really good, then even the green will burn too, but it doesn't burn quite as quick. But I have a lot of trees that are down, that's been down a long time around here, that I can cut up. And even some firewood that's probably been laying here a couple of years since when I first started working on clearing this property, that I just stacked it up in the woods, you know, because I didn't have a place to put it at that time, that I can actually go get that and kind of mix in with some of this. But I believe by splitting it, I create more surface area, so it should be able to dry out a whole lot easier. One guy wrote that his stepdad taught him that any tree to revive is to whoop them with a wooden baseball bat several times in the fall. This especially works best with fruit trees that don't produce. I wouldn't believe it if I didn't see it for myself. I guess if you whooped me with a baseball bat, I'd straighten up too. But I don't know, you know, I don't have any fruit trees. Mainly the fruit trees around here are apple trees. In this area, I've tried growing other trees, but really well, I say as a kid, we really didn't have any luck, because it seemed like the frost, the weather would start getting warm and the blooms would come out and they'd blossom, and then we would get a frost and it would kill them. So I'm not really sure that I'll try my hand at any fruit trees. My neighbor, he's got some fruit trees over there, but to my knowledge, it's just basically a hobby for him, because I don't think that he's had any luck with those producing either. But he does have some hybrid type blackberries, and those things are huge, like your thumb. I thought that, and blackberries is something that grows around here, I thought I would try my hand at some of those if I can get a cutting off of them from him and put those in up here. He has really good luck with stuff like that. So yeah, but the baseball bat, I've never heard of anything like that. So whip them with a baseball bat in the fall, and next year they ought to straighten up. So I don't think he was joking, because he said he wouldn't have believed it if he hadn't seen it. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard anything like that. Leave me some comments in the section below, because I've never heard of whipping a tree with a baseball bat to get it to liven up and do what it's supposed to do. Another little project that I'm going to have coming up, and this one might have to be pretty soon, because I really like using this grill up here in the outdoor kitchen. I wanted to get a piece of metal and put some hinges down here on the bottom that would actually come up the level of this right here. That way, when it's a windy day, I don't have wind just whipping through here. I create more of a box down in here, and it will also, being on hinges, I can actually let it down and be able to get rid of the ashes really easy. And then on days where, you know, I don't have a lot of wind, if I need more air in there, of course I can let that down. And this backside back here, I do need to mix up some mortar and go ahead. These brick, I've just got those sitting back there. I'm going to go ahead and brick this all the way across on the back, because like I say, on the real windy day, it just kind of whipped through here. So not that I was worried about anything, but the fact that the heat was actually, the wind was blowing the heat this way instead of it actually coming up, so it would create more kind of like this rocket stove right here, a place where the fire would basically have to come up before it would have to get over the top of the grill before it would let it out. So that's another thing. But the brick, they seem to be working good, and it's really a joy to cook out here. I'll tell you what, there is nothing like wood cooked over the fire. My daughter, I took her that load of dirt over to her house. Now she lives in a subdivision, got a really nice house that she had built, so really proud of her for being able to do that on her own. But when I took the dirt over there, they had actually bought a new gas propane grill, and she asked me did I want the old one, and she said you can take it up there and you won't have to build a fire sometime. If you want to eat, you just turn it on and go. Well, that's a good idea, but it doesn't taste the same. Now if you've ever cooked over the fire, you know what I'm talking about. It's not like a backyard grill. it tastes a whole lot better. There's something about that wood smoke that makes it just taste so much better. I may go ahead and throw it in the back of my truck to bring it up here, just so that, you know, there may be parts or something that I could use off of it for something. But this is my #1 choice when I go to cooking outside, is being able to use firewood, hardwood, and because it just makes the eats so much better. But yeah, this is going to be one of my new projects that I'm going to have to do sometime soon, because now that it's warm outside, I'll be cooking a whole lot more out here. But I'll tell you what, if you don't have one of these, it doesn't have to be built like this, but if you don't have an outdoor fire pit where you can cook, you need to get you a fire ring or something. If you live in town, just set it in the backyard, something that you can throw some wood down in there and cook, because it beats charcoal, it beats the gas grill, it just it outdoes it all, and this is the way to go. Now that's my opinion. You may like your gas grill, but I'll tell you what, if you ate something that came off of this grill right here, I believe your tongue would slap both sides of your head trying to get to more of it. So I really do like my outdoor grill. I don't know if you guys have watched any of the recent Outpost videos, but I have been using this pump. There is a 30-gallon tank down in the bottom, and what my intentions are is to at least put one piece of guttering up here on this metal roof, and I'll have that hose run down into here, or into this tank, with an overflow. I'll have to put an overflow on it where it will drain out into the woods, but that way every time it rains it will refill it. And of course in the wintertime I'll have to disconnect it, you know, because I don't want the tank to freeze and bust. But I'm not going to operate it now, just watching the future Outpost videos. But I have been using this to clean the dishes, and I'll tell you what, it's really handy, because just a couple of pumps on this thing and I've got water in there, and it's really handy having that out here at the outdoor kitchen. And like I said, be able to replenish that all the time up until I don't think we get our first real freeze until you know, sometimes in October. You just kind of have to watch the weather, but pretty much to November. Of course, now it may get down to freezing, but it'll get warm up in the day where it'll be short sleeve weather even up into December. Like I've said before, you know, most of our cold days here in this part of Tennessee is January and February. March, you know, we had leaves. Wasn't that long ago, leaves were popping out on the Bradford pear trees, and then the dogwoods, they're actually blooming now, and it's, you know, doesn't get down to, now it's in the low 40s, so spring is already here, and we're well on our way with buds and leaves already coming out on the trees, and everything is looking beautiful. So I'll be able to use this for quite a while, and it's really handy having that out here at the outdoor kitchen. Well guys, this is one of those piles of wood that I told you that I had lying around, that I had stacked up in the woods. It's been here a couple of years, so a lot of that's well seasoned, that I'll be able to use and mix with some of that other wood if it doesn't dry out really good by this winter. And then I've got several others in the woods down there, but when I cut one of the trees, it actually fell over the top of this, kind of knocked it down. So what I may do is I may pick it up when I get several good dry days and get it stacked up in underneath the woodshed. I want to go ahead and close this video here. My son, my daughter, and I, we really appreciate you guys. Sorry about all of this wind, and your support on both of our channels. We can't thank you enough for that. We hope that you're enjoying this review channel and some of the behind the scenes that's going on up here at the Outpost. We hope that everyone has a great day. Take care of yourself, and we look forward to seeing you back up here at the cabin again next time.